I'm Mel, this is Create and Company, and we're going to keep going through the book club of The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Today we're going to go between pages 283 and page 298. Okay, what are you thinking about this book so far? Do you like it? Is it reassuring you? Is it giving you new ideas or confirming things you already know in your heart or that have worked for you? We're already 3/4 in, so let's go. Openness. This mini chapter says that as years go by and you become more of an adult, your worldview starts to close in. And it says that for survival purposes, even ancient humans needed to do this, but that it's very important we don't close down our ways of intaking, our ways of thinking, our ways of being, because as an artist, it's important that we're open to what's in front of us that we might miss if we were closed to it. He says, the survival instinct persists today. With the overwhelming amount of information available to us, especially now with technology, we are more reliant than ever on categorization, labeling, and shortcuts. Few have the time and expertise to evaluate each new choice with a completely open, unbiased mind. And he says that the artist does not value safety and smallness because all that closedness, all that labeling, all that pre-planning, all that pre-assuming, categorization, that's a form of safety and smallness. And he says, as artists, that's not our priority. We don't value that. Reducing our palette to fit the perimeter of limited beliefs suppresses the work. New creative possibilities and sources of inspiration are blocked from view. If an artist keeps playing the same note, eventually the audience loses interest. And I would say the artist would too. There's a dullness in sameness. Where in your life, this is your prompt for right now, where in your creative journey have you been sticking to the same? For example, I'm a dancer, and I often, very often, change up my creative dance style. And I find that really opens my mind to how my body is moving, where my center of gravity is, different kinds of music, different groups of people in the dance world, etc. So are you staying open or are you doing more of the same? A once useful routine might over time turn into a narrow, fixed way of working. So even your routines can be limiting. To break out of this mindset, our charge is to soften, to become more porous, and to let more light in. Okay, so in the second part of this mini chapter, he explains that the heart of open-mindedness is, what do you think it is? Curiosity. And that curiosity doesn't take sides or insist on a single way of doing things. Remember that childlike mind we talked about earlier in the book? He said children are super curious. Recently, I saw a video online, just yesterday, of an experiment where toddlers, well, babies, were put in a room with giant snakes. Now, luckily they weren't venomous snakes and they were trained, but they were snakes. And as an adult, I don't know how you feel about snakes. I know that I have some fear of them. And yet, in this beautiful video, these babies were like touching them, squeezing them, touching their heads. There was no instinct of fear there. And they said that as adults show their facial expressions of fear to children, the children learn to be afraid. And so the caption of this video was beautiful because it was reminding us, how many things in your day-to-day life are you scared of doing that are not actually scary, you just associate with scary, especially with your creative journey, being seen, sharing your work, making a mistake, and so on. So back to curiosity. It explores all perspectives, always open to new ways, always seeking to arrive at original insights, craving constant expansion. It looks upon the outer limits of the mind with wonder. It pushes to expose falsely set boundaries and break through to new frontiers. So be more curious. And then here was the last part I really loved about this mini chapter. He said that when we encounter an artistic problem along the way, he said that when something doesn't go according to plan, we have a choice to either resist it or incorporate it. And I liked the rework here because it's not going to be a problem or a standstill or a like the end of the road if you simply incorporate it. Instead of shutting the project down or expressing frustration, we might consider what else can be done with the materials at hand. What solutions can be improvised? How can the flow be redirected? There may be a beneficial purpose behind the issue at hand. So I love this because in other areas of my life, I'm going through what might seem like a problem. I mean, I'm not the only one. A lot of us probably have one area or more in our lives that there's a little rock in our shoe that we wish would go better. And this was so reassuring for that as well, because it said the universe could be leading us to an even better solution. And in my view, with what I'm going through, it's like the challenge I'm going through is leading me to a more rooted solution. So in the past, I was putting Band-Aid solutions on this thing in my life, and now I feel I'm being pushed to get to a better solution. We can only flow with the challenges as they come and keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. With no baggage, no previous story to live up to, we simply begin from a neutral place, allow the process to unfold, and welcome the winds of change to guide the way. Okay. I would love to hear in the comments below where you can bring awareness to where you've been closed-minded in your creative process. Maybe it's that you only work with a certain other creative, or you only work a certain hour of the day, or if you don't have a full hour, you just won't create. And maybe you could be more flexible and open to different ways of creating, different styles, different influences, different audiences, different intuitions. So I really want to know in the comments below, where have you been closed and where can you get curious to open up more? Okay, next mini chapter. Surrounding the lightning bolt. I liked this concept because it talked about how creatives are known for getting that strike of lightning, that inspired idea. Comment below if you've ever had one of these inspired lightning strikes. And yet, he says, Rick Rubin, that we shouldn't idealize or wait for just that lightning strike of an idea. We should prepare for it, and then we should integrate and use the energy well after it hits. I'll read you how he explains it. I loved it because often we're waiting for them. And then even when we have a lightning strike, he's explaining that we might not be taking advantage of it or using it to its best potential. So check this out. He says, an explosion of information arrives in inspired moments. How can we avoid becoming so fixated on these bolts of lightning? Later he says, a more constructive strategy is to focus less on the lightning bolt and more on the spaces around it. The space before, because lightning does not strike unless the right preconditions are met, and the space after, because the electricity dissipates if you do not capture and use it. When we are struck by an epiphany, our experience of what's possible has been expanded. In that instant, we are broken open. We've entered a new reality. And then later on, he says something that I want all procrastinators and recovering creatives to please listen into, because he says, if lightning doesn't strike, our work not need be delayed. So don't use that as an excuse. Keep working. You can always do something that prepares you. The only way to find out is to engage wholeheartedly in the work. Without diligence, inspiration alone rarely yields work of much consequence. And so he tells you to keep making that art. And if the inspiration calls, we ride the lightning until the energy is exhausted. We're grateful for the opportunity. And then if the inspiration does not lead the way, we show up anyway. I put that in my newsletter to my creative community because we're going to show up anyway, my friends. That's what creatives really do. Maybe the glorified ones on the screen, we don't know behind the scenes often, but the true creatives, the ones that we usually admire and move us to tears, they kept going even when that inspiration wasn't fully there. Okay, the last mini chapter on page 295 is called Staying in It. Staying in It. And this one is a short and very subtle mini chapter because he says that unlike other walks of life, the artist's job isn't just a 9-to-5 where you check in, you check out, and it's off the way a lot of jobs can be. He says in this case, You're always available for the new ideas to strike, for the ahas, or for the slight observations of what's around you. He says creativity is something you are, not only something you do. It's a way of moving through the world, every minute, every day. If you're not driven to an unrealistic standard of dedication, it may not be the path for you. So I thought that was like a challenge from our friend Rick Rubin, like get ready to be unrealistically dedicated to this, in the sense that he later goes on to say on page 296, like you might be mid-conversation or you're doing another task and you get an idea, you read something, so you have to take notes about it. You want to collect those seeds. You want to integrate everything into your creative process, even if you're off the job at that time. Staying in it means a commitment to remain open to what's around you, paying attention and listening, looking for connections and relationships in the outside world. Searching for beauty. I'm going to repeat that one. So beautiful. Searching for beauty. Are you searching for beauty? That'll be your other prompt for today's chat in the comments below. How do you like to search for beauty? How have you searched for beauty? And if you've been out of touch with that practice or awareness, how can you search for beauty even today, even in this moment? Search for beauty, seeking stories, he says, noticing what you find interesting, what makes you lean forward, and knowing all of this is available to use next time you sit down to work, where the raw data gets put into form. This is why it's of such great importance to remain aware and present at all times, watching and waiting. Watching and waiting. So staying in it. 24/7 is actually what it said above that. I missed that. 24/7 staying in it. So it's a reminder that when you're committed to your creativity, to your creative work that will come through you, it's not a job you just turn off. Are you staying present? Maybe it's a walk with your pet. Maybe it's you cleaning the dishes. Maybe it's a family visit. Maybe it's actually a doctor visit you don't even want to go to. Like, can you be porous? Can you be open? Can you be curious? And can you be ready to collect the pieces that are going to come as raw data into your work or your next works? All right. I hope you're enjoying the way I am guiding us and highlighting what I have found most impactful from this book. Of course, I recommend you read it. And if you don't, I still hope you're getting a lot out of it. If you do read it, let me know in the comments below what you found that maybe I missed. I would love to keep this as a community conversation. All right. Well, if you're watching this in September of 2024, yes, then I want to let you know that I have doors open for the creative accountability group that I run. This is a place for you as a creative to get into your work, to get your hands back in the clay, back on the typewriter, to get into your work that you may have been avoiding, you may have been overthinking, you may have been just wondering if you'll ever get to it. This is where you do that, okay? It's a small, intimate group. We're all recovering creatives. We put a lot of this theory to practice, and I would love to get to know you and your creative project. If you're curious about that, you can email me at createincompany@gmail.com, and we start in October. The sooner you sign up, the lower the price, so I encourage you to follow your gut, your heart, your mind. Follow it if it is telling you now is the time. 2-month intensive. It's called FLOWDUCTIVITY because we flow and we have our productivity, so together that's FLOWDUCTIVITY. Okay, see you very soon. Bye.